Hey guys, welcome back to another video of mine. It's the Stream Reaper. We're just trying to give you guys a little bit of a fair update here. So, when we play Rocket League, meaning me and my other friends like Pickles Cool and Pancake Man, um, we all are gonna have our own personal preference. However, I'm gonna go through the settings so the absolute minimum amount of effort is needed on your end to understand how you need to play the game without any of your preferences. Anyways, going into it, you immediately go into settings where this is all personal preference to me. Um, your schedule region obviously determines where your schedule is going to come from via all the tournaments. Game stat display level. I use all stats because I want to know exactly what's happening, and if I want to have a little bit of fun trying to get, say, high fives just for the fun of it. There are actually tricks to doing that, just so you know. It's a lot easier with very specific goal explosions. Just a little hint there. I don't use force default team colors because, one, I feel like it slows you down a bit, and two, I kind of like seeing other people and other teammates uh, graphic ideas for their own cars and how they put things together. Some people keep it simple, some people don't. Anyways, moving on. Uh, com- Competitive ranks. I use all as our default. It's the default. Most people use it, I assume. I do decide to show competitive divisions. It's not just, okay, their diamond, it's their diamond division 3 or whatever it may be. My input buffer is default. However, my bandwidth, my server send, and my client send, they're all high. This just allows, like, for example, client send rate limits how many packets per second you send to the server. So this, if you're on a horrible or a weak Wi-Fi, you may want to lower it, I would assume. Anyways, I play on high. My cross-platform is always enabled. It is slightly difficult for, say, a PS4 or 5 Xbox to gain any competitive um, perks against a PC because, personally, PC is optimal. PC will always be at the top because frame rate is always going to be higher. PS5, I think, max is at 120 and it can't go higher. So as long as you're at anything higher than 120 but lower than, say, 240, after about 300, you don't notice a difference between FPS. Your eyes and brain can't distinguish the difference. You may or may not be able to tell. There is a slight study saying that some humans, um, depending on who they are and how they eat and so on and so forth, could perhaps see in a higher frame rate, which includes reaction times being slightly faster because they can process it faster, but it's only been studied a very small amount. Anyways, I highly doubt you ever play on split screen. If you do, it's not the greatest. I prefer having a full screen loadout. Um, Going into camera settings, my camera preset is always going to be custom because it's up to you. For example, camera shake, I don't use that because I like to know exactly where the ball is. Why would I want the camera to shake all over and then I become disoriented while I'm trying to get back onto my wheels? Doesn't make sense. Moving on to field of view, I'd like to see as much of the field as I can, and that allows me to do so. So that's 110. My distance from my car, so distance is from the back end of your car, uh, well, how far the camera is away. For me, it's 270. The higher you go, I believe it's the more you're away from it. The height controls how high your camera is above your car. So if your car is here and your height is at, mine's at 110, so I'm roughly about here with my height, for example. The angle is how the angle of it, so if my car is facing you guys, my angled camera is the field of view that I'm facing. So me, personally, I have it at -5, which I'm not 100% sure is default or not. But I use -5 because I have one of these small things, like I like to have things even. So if I can see an even amount of above and below me, it makes more sense to do so. It also gives you a higher advantage on being able to get a good idea of where the ball is going, if that makes sense. Like you can read the ball and where it's going to bounce, when it's going to bounce, how high it's going to go, and for the most part, you can fully read a person um, about to do something, whether it's an air dribble or a fake. You can really use this to your advantage. The stiffness is how rigid your car is followed by the camera. So if you're going straight and then you go to turn, you can have it where your car is right behind it the entire time, which I assume would be 0. However, I use 0.65 because I like a little bit of leniency, because if I go to move, I may want the camera right onto them still. I don't want it 100% of the time on the car. Moving on to swivel speed. Swivel speed is how fast the camera moves around your car if you're using the right analog stick, which means if you've been watching, like to kind of play around, and I don't always have camera or ball lock on, so I will use the joystick to quickly look as I'm going somewhere else, whether it's picking up boosts or going right back to the net. It does help that it's at 420 because it doesn't allow it to be too fast that you don't have time to process what's happening, but it also isn't so slow that by the time you look, they've already gotten the goal. My transition speed's always going to be the lowest on anything, because you, as a player and as a human, psychologically, humans are used to instant reaction. They are. That's what it is. You put in effort to hit a bat, you expect to hit the ball and it go, not the ball sit there in the air for a sec and then go flying. It doesn't work like that. Transition speed, you want instant. That's how I feel. You want instant. Just like in any other game, if you go down to, say, a first-person shooter and you go to aim in and you slowly increase that transition speed where it goes very slow and then faster and faster, your aim comes off because it should be one consistent movement. So transition speed, that's what I would recommend very much. Inverted swivel, if you're a brand new player and you don't like it, change it. Go ahead. But once you've been playing for a while, I feel like it's actually not easy to do this. And to switch that over, it means if I want to aim my front end, because when you do anything to fly, move your car, move it, rotate it, angle it, everything's opposite. So for me to aim up the front of my car, I need to pull back on the left joystick. That's just how it is for inverted swivel. If you don't like it, you can change it, but if it's something you've already been playing with, I would not touch that. Controls. I'm not going to go into the bindings. I kept mine the same. A lot of people will say switch it. I find it's personal preference. If you are skilled, I think that it all comes down to gameplay and maneuverability, not bindings, because anybody can win with any set of bindings as long as you've been playing with it and you're comfortable with it. It's as simple as that. Ooh, I'm cold. Moving on to steering sensitivity. This is how how sensitive your steering is, whether you want to move left or right. It's basically like controller dead zone, but for the front end steering, because all the cars in this game are front end, and real life. Aerial sensitivity, mine's at 1.03, which is how sensitive your stick is in the air. Simple as that. Control dead zone, mine's 0.6, because I want, like I said, as instant of a reaction as I can. Now, however, this also includes your dodging, right? So controller dead zone is how far you have to move the stick from center to affect it. Dodge dead zone, how far you must move from center to affect it. Same thing, basically. However, one is just saying like on the steering and air control. One says how much it is for dodge. Now dodging, that means if it's lower, you have a circle, right? So if you have a circle and it's higher, it's wider. So you have to be more concise more precise with the movement of your analog stick, whether it's up, left, right, angled. You have to be extremely precise to get what you want if you have this dead zone very, very minimal, because those dead zones now become tighter. The vibration, I left it on default. I don't usually use it in first-person shooter games. They can actually throw you off if you're using that. However, it's all personal preference at that point. Sensitivity is basic 1. Ball camera mode, I always toggle it. I never have it on hold it, because then you have a binding that's locked out basically. I don't use mouse often. I usually use controller. I don't use keyboard, and keyboard aerial safety I don't use as well. Let's check. But anyways, interface. So interface scale I actually reduced for PC. I'm sure a lot of people do. However, the smaller it is, as long as you can see, you'll play fine. Honestly, you will. You'll play perfectly fine. However, I've made mine a lot smaller than most people would, because I do feel that mentally you feel more open and more accurate when you're not zoned in to only the center of the screen. Now let me explain. When you're playing a game with a hood that's all over and it has so many things, it gets a bit overwhelming, where when it gets smaller, it's not overwhelming because you feel more, spacious within the gameplay, just because visually you feel more open. Simple as that. My display skill, it's 100. It's up to you guys. Nameplate scale, 100%. It's always default for me. Match notifications, I use all. So that's whenever messages will appear. Connection quality indicators, I do use. I do not use colorblind mode, and I use all of these. I use the ball arrow, and I'll tell you why, because it's a very small arrow. However, when the ball gets closer, it does grow a little bit, which tells me how close the ball is. And once you learn that, you can gauge how close the ball is. I shouldn't use ball cam indicators, but I do, because personally I should know that it's locked, because it goes right back to the ball. But I like to know where, if I'm already facing somewhere and it's near that indicator, I can look and quickly change that setting. I use metric. I'm in, the state, Canada, so team color boost meter. Okay, well that's different. I never really knew about that. That was when they integrated the boost gauge on the team's names, which I honestly love, because I can call people out for having full boost when they don't need it. Item shop notifications, whatever. And some of them are, like I said, personal preference. I don't use performance graphs, because they take up space on the screen. You don't need it. I do use convert platform friends, because you want to play with friends that you can actually communicate with during the tournament. Video, I like performance over graphics. However, you don't want to make it look like pixelated. So I take all of these guys off, because motion blur, I don't use it. I don't need it, and I don't like that. I play at 240, or I try to. Sometimes it doesn't hit 240, sometimes it does. Render quality is custom. I always use custom, because I've decided to mess around with everything. I don't have anti-aliasing off, or on. I keep it off. The render quality is always high quality. Just helps, I guess, with myself being a precise person. At least I get some graphics. I play on 2560, 1586, and then Windows, because I do a lot of streaming, so I do play that way. I use texture detail, world detail, and particle detail. All of them are on performance except for world detail, because world detail doesn't fully matter. You can tell right now over here, all those people look like guys from Mario. But anyways, and the effect intensity is only default, because you don't need everything max. Audio. Now for me, a huge thing is being able to concentrate. So in a lot of my games, I turn the music right out or extremely low, and the UI voice low, because I don't need it. I can decide for myself. Yes, they do help. That's why I do sometimes keep them in the background in my head, and if I'm listening, then I'm listening, and I'll catch it. Master volume's almost always at 100. Gameplay's 100. Music and gameplay music, always 25 or lower for me. It just, you don't need it. Honestly, music is just music. It might be nice to be able to listen to it every now and again, but there's no point. Voice chat, I have it at 50. I just needed to hear the other people. Ambient noise, I have at 75. Really, I should actually lower that right now. Let's go with 50. There we go. Because ambient noise is like birds and people and things and water, whatever else is around. Crowd is at 25 because you don't need it, but it is nice when you get a roll. They're like, woo! I usually play with headphones. Dynamic range is just default. I don't need anything higher. All of these are off. Player anthems are on, and screamer safe music. If you're streaming, you want to use that because you don't want to have copyright information on your channel, period. And that goes for any channel that you're streaming to. You shouldn't ever copyright. It's not right. Anyways, I mute things on unfocused, so if the window is closed, I mute it. Actually, I should do that. Anyways, for the chat. So if you're an annoyed person very easily, I would suggest to turn all of these off. Because it can get annoying when people do push you because they're wanting to. It's a psychological advantage some people can do is really push a person to just up and rage quit. And sorry, so I allow everything from everyone except for down here. I have default for different mics open, and I prefer party channel. It just makes it easier. And these are the extras. But anyways, let's go in and see how these work. We'll do a quick 1v1, and we'll see if my gameplay has gone up at all, and I will actually need to put in my headset. There we go. Alright, here we go. This should be a lot better now. Let's see. Oh, that should have been an open net goal. Oh, what? Ooh, that was close. So that guy committed hard, which you don't want to do, but there you go. And yeah. Here we go again. Nice save. Ah, that was garbage. I did so bad. Wow. that's that swivel speed there, going back and forth. You can very slightly see that. There we go. Not doing too bad now, are we? Go. So just so you guys know, if you're new to flying, sometimes hitting the ball not with the actual body of the car, but with the tires, it softens the hit and allows you to actually like change that direction and speed of your shot, and you can make it way more accurate. There we go. So those are kind of how, well, this is how I play. I try and also play a bit more on the defense, not all the time, but I do try to be more defensive. But anyways, I hope you guys liked the video. I hope you guys like and subscribe to my channels on YouTube, Twitch, and on TikTok. TikTok is more of a secondary fun thing that we do. YouTube and Twitch are my main gaming platforms. I hope you guys help and support me. Follow, like, and share. And I hope to see you guys next time. It's always fun to do these videos. So I will see you guys later, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video.